Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from group 3. So today we're going to present the material about the accuracy of understanding about research method, which is the part of accounting behavioral subject. So before we're going to talk more deeply about this chapter, first let me introduce the member of this group. First one is me, Farah Zarani Sazade, and my friend Jani Karina Ginting, and the last one my friend is Novan Rumbata. Okay, I will move to the next slide. It's about the table of content that will be mentioned for today's presentation. The first one is the definition, and after that about the project design, and after that is about validity and also the reliability, and then data collection method, and then the selection of respondent, and then the research instrument, and the last one is about data analysis and report. Okay, let's move to the first chapter. Is about the definition of research. As we know that the research word is really familiar for the bachelor student, right? Because before we going to finish our bachelor degree, we have to make a thesis and also doing some research to complete our final text before we leave the university, right? But I believe maybe some of you still don't know what is research about. So, for me, research is defined as a systematic, organized effort of to investigate problem and answer questions. So, every research was begin with a question, but requires a clearly state and description of the problem to be solved and calls for a plan to answer this question. So, by applied research is intent to solve the specific problem. For example, me as accounting student, I will do a research maybe about a specialization in accounting problem or gap. So maybe if you are a student of another major, you have a specific problem or research you have to do. Okay, in doing the research, maybe there's some reason about why people want to do research. Maybe it's like a motivation or maybe the benefit that they got. So today I'm going to mention 3 of the benefit of research. The first one is about the research will help to identify the research gap. As I already mentioned before, the research are occurs because there's a gap. So by doing the research, the researchers can solve the problem and can solve these gaps. They will know the answer by doing the research. And then the second one is about the research can provide a state-of-the-art picture of the special interest. For me, as accounting student, I have an interest about the specific accounting material or the problem of an accounting. So it will help me to find the answer of my question about this game. And then the last one of benefit from research is research can help to review and compare research activity. Especially through accounting subfield, we know that there are like financial accounting, auditing, management accounting, information system, capital market, and taxation. So by doing the research, we can compare all of these subfields into the one of thesis. Okay, after we talk about the definition of research, so we already know why we have to do research, right? So I will move about the project design. Especially in doing research, we have to design first about the project that we will want to do. So actually, the most crucial step in behavioral research is a problem definition, which is the nature of the information is collected, and then about the data collected, selection, and then the type of sample that we want to use, and then drawn depend on how the problem will be perceived, and the research question that frame, and the information the study designer decide to collect for this project. And then the project of research are begin by director doing a processing the problem definition by collecting information from the clients. And then after being briefed on the problem, the researcher director will begin the text of a problem definition by gathering background information and then assessing key internal and external factor and also isolating potential area. And after that, then the researcher's director need to determine the scope of the project and then also the key research questions that are delineated. Okay, after we talk about a project design, there are several things that we have to be considered in making a project. The first one is determination of project scope. Many cases, all areas or potential concern cannot be investigated in a single behavioral research project. The project scope is usually limited to one or two major questions. For various reasons, it may be undesirable, impracticable, impossible to investigate every aspect of a problem. So by doing the determination of scope, it will be help to more specific about which scope that we will going to concern in this project. After that, we have to consider about the primary or secondary data that we will use, because the data that we're going to use is really impact to our project. So for example, if you guys want to use a primary data, maybe it's kind of hard for you to find the data because it's not still unpublished. So you need to give more effort to find this data. And also there is some advantage if you use the primary data, maybe because the data is still unpublished, you will be the first one that publish the data. And if you decide to use the secondary data, maybe it will be easier for you to find this data because the data is already processed by the another people before. But another disadvantage for the secondary data, maybe the data is already used by the various people, by all the people, so it's still not really limited or really special data. So by consider about primary and secondary data is a really important in our project design. If we want to get more easier to find the data, we have to use secondary data. But if we use the primary data, we have to process the data first, and then after that the data is hard to find and something like that. So every method of use the data that we use in our project is depend on the research director. Okay, I think that's all for me. The next material will be presented by my friends Jenny. Thank you.
Good morning all. Now we will discuss about the validity and reliability. When we are interested in measuring the behavioral attribute of people, however we encounter imposing obstacle, there are no significant rules or scale to measure the attitudes toward work, identification with an organization, or likelihood of success in associated of behavioral research project. There are two major of risks that can we measure. That's about our research are assessed with tests of validity and reliability. Validity is refers to the extent to which that we measure is in fact that which we intended to measure, and whether what we can measure is related to our research. There are several types of validity. The first one is content validity, refers to how well we have delineated the dimension of the concept or issue we want to measure. And the second one is criterion related validity, is determined by comparing the concept that we measure with external criterion that is known or assumed to measure the concept we are investigating. The third one is predictive validity, is concerned with whether a test or measure can accurately predict behavior. This type are required a set criterion or external indicator of what is to be predicted. And the next is concurrent validity, is concerned with the relationship between our measure and a past or present criterion. This is different from predictive validity in that measure of predictive behavior are obtained at the same time as the actual measure of behavior. The last one is construct validity is based on a judgment as to whether the result of our measurement convert to theory. For example, we will expect there to be a positive relationship between employee morale or overall level of satisfaction with a firm and the length on tenure of the firm employees. And the next is reliability. Reliability is concerned whether a particular technique applied repeatedly would yield the same result each time. Does it refer to the consistency of a measures? We can depend on reliability measure but cannot depend on reliable measurement. The stability or consistency of our measurement, however, does not guarantee the accuracy of our measurement. And validity versus reliability. There is a tension between reliability and validity in that reliable measures are often simpler and cover fewer nuances of the concept we wish to measure. The using of several different methods for measuring a concept and measuring all the dimensions of a concept generally do not comprise reliability, although it does enhance validity. And next we will discuss about data collection method. Primary data can be collected by observation of behavior, by survey, or by laboratory experiment. Observation may or not involve direct interaction with the people whose behavior is under study. There are two drawbacks of the method of unobstructed observation. The first one is the observer may not understand what people are doing and why they are engaged in the behavior. And the second one is if the sample size are small, it will be risky to generalize result to an entire population. And the next one is survey. With a survey, there is an interaction between a researcher and respondent. The data could be collected by mail, telephone, or personal interview. There are advantages and disadvantages associated with each technique. When we use mail survey, it could be expensive because we have to send using a post, and maybe the respondent might be anonymity. Telephone interview can collect data in shortest period of time but are more costly than mail surveys. Personal interview can probe for reason underlying behavior and can explore both general and detailed questions. Selection of the appropriate data collection technique depends on the circumstance and nature of the research project. And the last one is experiment. Experiments are used when a researcher wants to manipulate or control certain variable in order to establish a causes and effect relationship. For example, a researcher wants to determine the effect of feedback on productivity. An experiment could be designed to manipulate other variables that are known to affect productivity. So I think that's all for me. The next material will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Novan Rumbata and I will continue the explanation. Selection of respondent. The population is the entire group of people or set of events that are relevant to the research project. The first step in selecting respondent is to define the population. Then research must decide between a census or a sample. A census can be appropriate when the population is small and data collection costs will not be significant more than the cost of sampling. It is important to know about every element in the population. The risks of improper generalization are very great. In most cases, It is not necessary to take a consensus. In fact, sampling is often more advantageous to a research. Samples require less time and money for data collection, and they minimize the risk by minimizing the number of people to be acquired. In selection of respondent, error can be happen. It caused by sampling error and non-sampling error. Sampling error result from sample size and sample design. For example, bias may be introduced by a sample size that is too small or by sample design that cause some segment of a population to have a different probability of being selected than other segment. And non-sampling error are due to problem in project design and data collection, include misleading, poorly worded, of confusing question, interview bias, and error in recording, storing, and manipulating data. Next, the research instrument. Securing respondent corporation. A well-designed questionnaire is useless if people do not cooperate with the research request for information. So the research most questions should be easy to understand and should not require long and tedious response. Response categorized should be clear and include all options. Securing valid and reliable response. Only essential information should be requested from respondent. Double-barreled question also should be avoided. All questionnaires should be pre-tested in order to identify flaws in question, wording and question ordering, and to predict response rate to the main test. Next, data analysis and report preparation. Before data can be analyzed, it must be edited and coded. Information collected from interviewers or questionnaire should be examined for commission or obvious error. It most difficult and time-consuming aspect of data preparation is the coding of open-end question. A response should be read and categorized. The final report should convey the conclusion drawn from analysis of data. There is no single B report format. The way in which the report is organized depends to a great extent on the needs of the user. Okay, it's all from our presentation. Thank you for attention and Assalamualaikum